Hey everybody, Thomas here, and today I'm actually going to show you something a little bit different. I'm in my messy workshop. As you can see, I have stuff just kind of all over the place in the shop. We've had multiple hurricanes, tropical storms, all that fun stuff, and I had to put a lot of stuff in here prior to actually finishing my shop so it wouldn't get wet. The barn out back, unfortunately, during Zeta, pretty much got destroyed. So I was going to tear it down anyways. I'm tearing it down a little bit sooner than I wanted to, but that's all good. On to today. I actually have a craft fair coming up on the 14th of November in Lewiston, Mississippi. It's a Gingham Tree Festival and craft fair, and it's a really cool show. There's quite a few vendors, probably over 200 typically. We've been out there before. We've done really well. Well, I'm going to show you some of the things I make for my craft fair. And I make a lot of cutting boards. My buddy makes spoons, makes some benches and stuff like that. But I'm going to show you how to turn pretty much what would be considered a scrap board into something you can make a lot more money off of than just a piece of scrap. So I'm going to be working with some black walnut today, although I'll show the black walnut stuff, but I'm actually going to show the working of actually the hickory. So I've got some spalted hickory. I cut a mantle and I cut some pieces for a bench and stuff like that out of this hickory. And this is kind of like an offcut where I had to get back onto the scale of the computer for whatever my next cut was going to be. So it's about a 1-inch thick slab, and it's got some beautiful spalt to it, but there's not a lot I can do with it. So I'm going to turn it into something probably worth about $60 to $70. I'm going to get 2 charcuterie boards / cutting boards out of it. So stay tuned. We'll do some more, and here we go. All right, folks, so this is the actual piece we're talking about. It's roughly on this side right here, it's about 10 inches across, and it narrows down to about 8 inches on this side. It is hickory. It's a tree that I actually took off our property in Tennessee a couple years ago, and then it sat here for about a year, and as you can see, it's spalted up. This is the actual outside piece. The inside portion of it, again, just beautiful, beautiful wood. Now, it does have some bug holes and stuff like that, so this is actually a piece I'm going to add epoxy to, I think. We'll see how it actually looks with oil, but I haven't decided yet. This has already been planed. When I was doing a job a while back, I was actually trying to clean the planer blades off because I was cutting planing down some pine. So if I run a hardwood through it, it would help to get the blades a little bit cleaner. So here we go. We got our hickory. Now let's grab the 2 templates. These are some of the cutting boards that I do, and if you came out to the Timber King Sawmill show, you would see how I make one of these in person. It's a relatively easy process, but I use these as my templates. All right, so orientation is key. I have a few things going on this piece of wood that are not desirable. One of which is, I guess when I had it on my sawmill, I was using a log turner, I chipped out that section right there. Now these boards right here, they don't have any live edge on them. They are actually kind of squared up and everything. I've got some rounded edge, but no live edge per se. And what I like to incorporate is a live edge because it's a natural way for material to slide off of the board. The board down here, I do have a little bit of a check right there, but what I'll do is I'll position this board right here so I incorporate a live edge on one side. Now this board, this would be the orientation. If I was going to incorporate the live edge on this side, I could have the orientation like that, keep a live edge there. I don't want a live edge on both sides because this would actually look too large. So I'm going to go back to my original setup like this, and I got to watch out for the end here because I have some chipping and some checks. I don't want to incorporate that, but what I'll do is I'll push this slightly lower. I think that's a good width right there. That's roughly about 8 inches across. So that's a pretty good sized board. And it'll keep me away from this check mark right here. So this check, probably where the tree fell or just splitting from the end grain here. But I've got that board where I like it. I'll have a nice rolled edge that's natural, no routing required. It's Mother Nature provided. Pretty nice. And then on this board right here, again, I don't want to incorporate that, so this will be the edge that I cut off, but I like the orientation about where it's at. Maybe I'll push it up just slightly. Now this board's going to have some tapering effect. It won't be the same width all the way down, but that makes it unique. It's something different. This is a new design I came up with. I call it my duck head design because it looks like a duck head. And yeah, so essentially we've got the boards placed where I want. Now, these black walnut ones, they demand a little bit more premium than this hickory one will. However, this hickory board here, I still think I should be able to sell these boards when finished between $30 to $40. So each. So that's a $60 to $80 board right there. That would essentially, have I sold it just the way it was, I probably would have sold it for about $5, maybe. So I'm gonna go ahead and excuse me, I'm gonna go ahead and you're gonna watch me trace this thing out and then cut it with a jigsaw. So nothing special. And again, this is something that you can do with tools that you have around your shop. You don't have to have a fancy bandsaw or sander or stuff like that. I'm gonna show you how to make a board that you can make for a gift for your family, relatively inexpensive. If you have a sawyer in the area, I mean, they have tons of these boards just sitting around. Now, I have a problem. As you can see, these are my boards that are offcuts, that are not graded, not good enough for anything, but this is what I turn into, you know, my cutting boards. I like that cedar piece right there. It's got a big old rotten section in it. Eventually, I'll probably turn that into a mantle or something like that. These are my offcuts. These are offcuts from previous jobs that I've cut. So I want to show you how you can get, if you have a sawyer in the area, you can get the cheap boards and make some pretty nice gifts, or even if you want to turn that into some cash. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and change angle, and you'll watch me kind of trace this out, and then we'll start using some of the tools here. Okay, so as I stated before, uniqueness is always a great seller. So no board I ever make, now I apologize, I got ash and charcoal dust all over me from tending to fire a little bit ago, but uniqueness is what sells. So people don't want the plain Jane stuff you can buy at a store. They want something that is unique and different, because everyone can just go up to a home goods store and buy a bamboo cutting board or whatever and throw some meat on it. But if you want a board that looks different from everything else anyone else has, you know, contact your local sawyer and find out what scraps do you have, and they'll work a deal with you. So very kids out there having fun on, that's the neighbors down the road having fun on their side by side. But yeah, very expensive pencil. But again, all I'm doing is just kind of, once I get a template made, I continue to use that template. Now this is something that I freehanded at some point, and it just worked out well. So, and I like to add kind of like an angled cut at the end, because a straight one, again, it's just not unique. No board, I keep on saying this, no board I make is like any other board. I mean, every one of them's unique. That would be nice. So far it's been pretty difficult, as you see. Can you trace out something? Now, I do make a lot of these templates out of cardboard, but that's kind of temporary. Really, if you got like a nice thin piece of plywood or something like that. So we have our shape. And then I'll kind of look at it, I'm like, does that look right? Now, every time you copy something, especially with a wooden pencil like this, it's gonna get a little bit thicker. And that's fine. So I try to, especially in this area right here, because I've got pretty large hands, but if someone has a smaller hand, that's gonna be pretty large for them to hold. What I like to do is, when I actually run my jigsaw, I will, you know, come inside the line just a little bit there, and you know, go from there. So these look pretty good. I like how this one's gonna have a real neat tapering effect. I'm gonna have to get my circular saw and kind of take off the straight edge, or actually I'll probably do that on the table saw. I don't know, we'll see. All right, next thing next. Again, another expensive tool. Not really, but just go ahead and grab a jigsaw. You know, you can do this on a table saw as well. Well, not a table saw, excuse me, a bandsaw. But I can't seem to make as pretty turns as some people on a bandsaw. So yeah, I like my jigsaw. And again, I'm not really, I am not a woodworker per se. I like to dabble with woodworking, but some of my skills are not quite there yet. I do like to build things and I like to cut wood, but this ain't hard. So if you saw the Timber King show, you saw me make these in like 15 minutes, so it was pretty cool. And to tell you the truth, I could have made that cut with a circular saw and it would have been just fine, but I didn't. Alright, so something like this would be great if I had my kid over here to hold this, but I don't, so I'm just going to let it drop, which is fine. It's hickory, it ain't going to hurt anything. Might hurt the floor or my foot, or Molly if she gets underneath it. And I'm going to try to follow one of these lines here, but I'm really just going to shoot the difference between the two and then clean it up afterwards. Again, it ain't gonna hurt it, it's hickory. Go ahead and cut the end off down here. Now, the length, I think the length is pretty good, so we'll go and keep that way. And I still have some stuff I can make out of this, and I'll show you something possibly at the end of the video out of that. So again, I came in a little bit closer there, and you know, everyone is slightly different. I keep on saying. I might leave that one a little bit longer there. That looks pretty cool. We'll see. I think I need to take out a little more of the hump right there. So that's obviously a different type of duck. That could be a redhead bison mallard because of the larger head. All right, now I'm just going to go ahead and grab my circular saw. Oh yeah, one bar on battery, plenty. So after further examination of the board, I think it's actually a bit too long. I'm going to take just a smidge off, and I'll change the angle slightly too. Yeah. So once I finish that up, I think that's going to look good. It is kind of a unique board, but it's and pretty well balanced, not too bad. Let's go on to the second one. And hopefully this is not too boring for you. It's just something kind of pass the time and show you how you make a little bit of money on some of these things. Again, I made that a little bit thinner there. I'm going to take it down just a bit more. That's pretty good. Again, I want to keep the edge on that one side. Yeah, and that thing right there just doesn't work on here anymore. It's all good. Not too shabby. So, yeah, 2 little boards there. I change that handle just slightly, but again, I think I can get $25, maybe $30 out of some of these. But you know, once all finished up, it'll look pretty nice. I'll show you one other thing. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I use my little sander right here that I fixed up with the help of Mr. Robert. So I'll show you some sanding of this real quick. Okay, so the sanding, I'm actually not gonna show this real time because this thing is loud and it's gonna be all over the place and lots of sawdust. I'm actually just gonna throw in a time lapse and you'll see me working on sanding these things. And this is what I'm going to start with sanding. I'm going to finish with the orbital sander in 80 grit. I'm currently using 80 grit on here, and my orbital sander I'll be using 80 grit. And then we'll see what the boards look like, and might actually just apply some finishing wax and oil to them at the end, or we'll readdress and see if we're going to do some type of epoxy. So, all right, stay tuned. Here we go. All right, folks, so the boards are pretty nice and smooth right now. And again, I took down if I could put my hand over it, if I felt any sharp edges, I took those off. So those are all gone. I do have a little bit of clean out I got to do in this area. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit, just a few sharp edges I really couldn't get with the sander there. And you want to make sure you get all the pencil marks out. I'm not seeing any right now, but yeah, pencil mark. Yep, I got some right here. So that pencil mark right there. Make sure I get all that out. Now, go ahead and use my orbital sander, and again, I'll throw in a time lapse because it's just sanding. I sanded for approximately 15 minutes on the last sander, and that was a little bit longer than normal. I was just trying to get these to a higher quality of finish. So I was taking a lot off, and I was working a lot on these handles. These handles right now, they feel good. I mean, that feels good. Someone with a slightly smaller hand than mine would be perfect for them. But that board, that's got some color, and definitely a ton of spalt and everything. So I'm very happy with the way it's looking thus far. So go ahead and throw in a little bit here, and then I'll really show how this thing pops when you add some oil or the epoxy to it. So here we go. folks, we're near the end of the video here. Very happy the way these turned out. Now this one right here I had to put back onto the other sander because I had a section that chipped out right there. Oh, there we go. Had a section that chipped out right there, and you could catch it with your finger. Now you can run your hand anywhere over this board as much as you want. There's no splinters, no raised edges, everything's nice and smooth. And this feels like smoother than a granite surface. This is pretty smooth. And again, I'm only using 80 grit, but very happy with it. It's turned out. I mean, that's a lot of spalt and beautiful color. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I've got some mineral oil. There we go, mineral oil. And I have my butcher block, and I'm actually nearing the bottom of my butcher block conditioner. So I'm going to do my first application of the mineral oil, followed by the butcher block conditioner. I want to get a good soak in to kind of seal that wood and go from there. But very beautiful. And this will really make the grain and the color and everything pop. Now I'm doing this applying by hand, and then I'll come back with a paper towel and everything. This, I mean, it's hard to tell, but this right here, I've got a thick coat on here right now. It's really popping. Those spalt lines are looking gorgeous. Big old motorcycle gang going by. That's cool. A little goes a long way, so try to transfer as much as I can from one side to the other. But yeah, you can make your own butcher block conditioner oil or wax stuff. It's typically mineral oil and beeswax and carnauba oil and stuff like that, or carnauba wax, excuse me. I think it's how they pronounce it. Just kind of work that in there, heat it up with your hand. It'll just soak into that wood grain. And actually, this board right here, when finished, this could be maybe a $40 board. And again, it was made out of some scrap. Oops, a bit much there. It was made out of some scrap hickory with some spalt. But I think this will be a good seller. Make sure you cover every bit of that end grain too, prevent any more checking to occur. Now the good thing is I've let this dry for quite a while. I've had this board sitting around for a few months and everything, and it's already done a decent amount of drying, and then I cut off a lot of the ends there, so that should be pretty good. But I hope y'all have had as much fun as I have. I mean, total time on these boards, now I was filming and had to get the camera right and everything, but I'm sitting right at about 45 minutes for these two boards. So when all's said and done, probably about an hour, because I'll have to apply one more coat of the the butcher block conditioner. I'm very happy with these turned out. Just get it all in there. I'll let this kind of sit on there for a second, and then I'll come back with a paper towel, kind of remove the excess, and then apply my second coat. But I think this will be a crowd pleaser at the gingham tree, because I mean, who else is going to have a spalted hickory serving board, charcuterie board, whatever you want to call this? And again, made with all that scrap wood. And that's one beautiful board. I mean, the camera's not really doing this justice, but and that is gorgeous. And as you can see, I've got some excess on there, and I'll go through and clean it up some more. But you know, look at that change in color. It really brings it out. Little board, same thing. So what I'll probably do is I'll just go ahead and secure the video just for a second here as I apply some more of this and let it kind of seep in. And I'll do final coat of butcher block conditioner. You can see that application too. And then again, I'm just trying to show y'all, you don't have to have super fancy tools. Now I got a super fancy sawmill, but that's an easy problem to fix if you have a sawyer in your area. You don't have to have super fancy tools to make these boards. I mean, if you've got a little bit of a creative hand, and if you can freehand some designs or anything, and And if you got some wood just to practice with, I mean, practice with some cheap stuff. Practice some pine first. Make some state cutouts. I do a lot of state cutouts or anything. Get good with your jigsaw, get good with your bandsaw before you start working on your more expensive woods. Now, when I say more expensive woods, your black walnuts, your cherries, your stuff like that. I mean, this hickory right here, I will probably have these sold pretty quick once I'm at the craft fair, just because of the uniqueness. Again, uniqueness sells. So, you know, get out there. Don't be afraid to try anything. If you screw up, I mean, that's what they make sanders for. And, you know, otherwise, heck, if you didn't like the way this looked and everything, well, that'd be great wood for smoking on your grill. It's hickory. But, yeah, really looking forward to next weekend's gingham tree. If you're in the Lucedale area, if you're down in southern Mississippi or Alabama, sorry, my dog's totally hitting the camera. Back up, Lucy. She's like, I want some of that. But if you're in the area, come on down to the gingham tree show. It's quite a good time. Hopefully, we won't have a tropical storm we're dealing with. ETA. We don't know the ETA exactly of ETA, but it's looking like Friday event, and the event's on Saturday, but I believe it's going to be a Florida event, not so much Mississippi, because you know, we're looking like we're going to be outside the cone of uncertainty. But there you go. That's 2 hickory boards, and if you come down, you can take a look at these firsthand. And again, you know, I'm not. It's just a fun event. There's great people. There's a lot of stuff going there. If you are in the area or close by, it's a pretty cool event. Mr. Robert's going to be there with his spoons and spatulas and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'll have quite a few boards there myself. I'm trying to. We might actually have the booth right next to each other, but I'm very happy with these turned out. And again, my templates were right there. Around my girl Molly here. And then I'll have my Mississippi cutouts. That's some poplar. This is some bay. Check out my latest video on the bay. I actually cut this a few months ago and went from there. Of course, I said a sweet gum. There's Louisiana. I got my Alabamas. I got to get a few more of those. Got my Mississippi piled. And none of these boards are finished, but I am working towards getting these done. And also, if you really want to make it real easy, you can just do something like that. This right here will sell like hotcakes. I mean, that's just a hunk of black walnut. It's got some nice live edge, and once I finish this up, it'll be nice and nifty. So, I'll quit talking for a second. We'll go ahead and finish up the last bit of this video and get you on your merry way, and we'll see you around. Thanks. All right, folks, I've let these sit for about 30 minutes or so. As you can see, it's pretty much soaked in. I ran the paper towels over it, smoothed it out. It's got a nice satin finish to it. And that's before we apply this butcher block conditioner. Now I'm towards the end of this. I'll show the application on one of these boards. I'm not going to bore you too much. Although I do get some comments from every once in a while. People are saying, boring. I'm like, well, you know, I'm not telling you to watch the channel. It's up to your own accord. So, and I think it's hilarious that someone's going to take the time to write a comment like that, but whatever. All right, so now we're applying the butcher block conditioner, and it's not going to change the color a whole lot from what it is. It just will give just a little more of a sheen to it. It'll still be a nice satin type finish, but it'll just give it that little wax there. Will provide just a little more protection on the wood, and go from there. Again, all food grade. The butcher block conditioner is one that you can get from Howard's. Another one they have is the it's got orange peel in it. It's the feed and wax. Feed and wax. And I use feed and wax on my furniture pieces. And I use a butcher block conditioner on anything that's pretty much going to touch food. But very, very happy with the product thus far. I've used it for a couple years now. And yeah, it's just inexpensive. I think it's about $9 or so if you go to Lowe's or Home Depot. Typically you find it in the same area you find your stains. So next to your, I believe your Minwax stains and stuff, you'll find the Howard's butcher block conditioner. And they may have some other types there, but I've had pretty good luck with them. I mean, really no issue. And see, I've got just a few areas right there where I didn't get the first coat application that well, so I'm going to put on a little bit heavier. just in those areas. But yeah, the good thing is on a board like this, if you just wash it down with some mild soap and water, if you ever get any issues with cut marks and stuff like that, if you are in fact using it as a cutting board, just lightly sand it down, get those out, and reapply. I always like to use food grade woods. There are some woods that are not good for this, cedar being one of those. Black walnut's not bad, and it's a great seller and everything, but you know, some people react differently to different types of woods, so just make sure you don't go gung-ho and get yourself sick on something. But again, cedar, eastern red cedar, is not a food grade safe wood. However, if you go and get some, is it white cedar? I believe that is actually some good food grade stuff. You can do cedar planks and stuff to cook your salmon and whatever on. But eastern red cedar is actually not one good to do this with. A little more in here. Poplar is, I find it to be too soft, and same with some of your gums and stuff like that. Now, I have done sycamore before. Sycamore's good, but sycamore is quite difficult to keep stable. I do find it's hard to get a really wide board to stay stable. Hickory and pecan, kind of in the same family, they can be sometimes unstable. There you are. Pecan, if you've ever heard me say this, pecan's kind of like my worst enemy. It looks phenomenal, but I have a hard time keeping some of the boards as straight as I can. So, there we go. Finished product. Very neat looking board from start to finish. Both these boards probably about an hour time frame put into them. Very hard, hickory hard, but very happy with the way this turned out. So, if you want to see more stuff like this, just comment below. I do these from time to time, but always during this time of year, being November, before craft season, before Christmas, I try to get a lot of these boards out, and it actually helps pay for the kids' Christmas. So again, appreciate all the subscriptions, the likes, the comments, and all the good stuff. You know, I'm not one with thin skin. I mean, some people like to troll and make some weird comments on there, but I don't really care. I like people, and I'm pretty much a nice guy. If you've ever met me, I'm like a big old giant teddy bear, but yeah, I don't have thin skin, so whichever. Some people, I guess you just can't make everybody happy, but it is what it is. Nor do I want to try. It's just too exhausting. So, all right, we'll see you around, and have fun, and be safe. See ya.